I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. This is the next in my series on planets with the moon. Particularly, we're starting with the outer planets. We did Pluto just recently, and now we're going to take a look at Neptune. What does it mean to have Neptune conjunct with the moon in your natal chart? And you'll be able to find out if you do have Neptune with the moon if you pop to astro.com, entering your details there, and a chart will come up that will show you what you have. And I'll show you an example. This is a much drawn on and utilized over many years image of my chart. That's what you'll get. You'll get something like that on astro.com, and over in the side, or sometimes it comes up underneath, you'll have a list with of the planets with their glyphs. There's the moon there, and you're looking for Neptune here, and of course then you look on your chart and find out whereabouts those glyphs fall in your chart and whether they are together. So that's what you'll get if you go to astro.com, pop in your details, and then look for the glyphs of Neptune and the glyphs of the moon, the glyph of the moon, and if they're together, sitting very closely to one another, then you've got a conjunction. We would look with the outer planets at a conjunction, and which we call an orb, no more than 5 degrees, or 5 little lines if you don't know what the degrees are in your chart. 5 degrees with the outer planets is the orb. Sometimes with a closer planet to Earth like Venus or Mercury, we can have a larger orb, but because the outer planets are so far away, the orb needs to be tighter and smaller. We'd go no more than 5 degrees. So what does it mean to have that in your chart? How does it play out in reality? Well, first we need to understand the moon and what it represents, and what Neptune is and what Neptune represents. So the moon, in a nutshell, is this wonderful lunar orb that circles the Earth, obviously in astronomy. But it's actually, in astrology, it represents our emotional life, what we need to feel emotionally happy and fulfilled, where we will get our emotional joy from, what we will express our emotions like is seen by the placement of the moon, and also what will make us happiest in life. It also represents the mother, how we relate to our mother, what we perceive our mother to have been like with us, the relationship that we have with the mother and the family and the heritage and the roots and the lineage as well of our most intimate nurturing parent. Plus it also represents how we, if we are going to be a nurturing parent in the nurturing parent role, how we will be interacting with our own children, how they are likely to experience our mothering, what we will demonstrate mostly in our mothering or nurturing. It's also a highly intuitive and a highly karmic planet. So it's a planet that manifests greatly, the moon, and it will, when strong in the chart, when powerful in the chart, it will allow a great intuitive resonance, almost a psychic resonance, ability to tap into the higher realms, to get things, to understand things, to sort of click when you know, to make sense of the world around you at an emotional level. It's quite a psychic planet, and in fact sorry, I was going to say about karma as well. It's a very karmic planet, and it is an indicator, one of the indicators that we look at in karmic readings, that tells us about past lives, where we've come from, and it does a lot. The moon's placement does a lot towards explaining a lot of the issues and the problems and the ideas that we're battling with in this current lifetime because of its karmic nature. As you all know, every month we have a new moon, or I hope you know, we have a new moon, and every month we have a full moon, and that's based on the rotational cycle of the moon around the Earth in relationship with the sun that causes that. Now you will notice I come from a background of teachers and nurses basically, and at the time of the full moon we get a lot of lunatics going crazy, lunar being the connection with the moon in that word, and that's the old-fashioned word for it, but people's mental capacity and emotional capacity is very amped up around the time of the full moon. And this is because of the energy of the moon is heightened. So we see that there are, you know, people who are charged up around the time of the full moon. Often people get headaches around the time of the full moon, or they feel sad or highly emotional around the time of the full moon, because the moon is kind of on steroids. So the moon is actually a very activating planet. It causes a lot of manifestation on the earth, in the earthly realm that we all live in. And of course it is part of the eclipses, what causes eclipses, and because of that it manifests greatly through the eclipse cycle with the nodes of the moon and the sun. But we're not here to talk about those components today. We're here to talk about when the moon is tangling with Neptune. And what is Neptune? Neptune is a slippery planet. Neptune, I find, one of the hardest planets to talk about because he's foggy. He's hard to pin down. His purpose, his reason for infiltrating our lives, it's sometimes hard to pick out. It's hard to get a grasp on. As you can tell, I'm kind of struggling to pull the right words out here now, because Neptune is elusive. Now, Neptune is connected to the divine angelic realm. So naturally, for we human beings functioning on planet Earth in third dimensional reality, connecting to angelic realms doesn't come easy. And this is why Neptune is so hard to put your finger on, because he belongs to a different realm, to a different sphere of life. So Neptune is correlated with 12th house energy and Pisces energy. So if you have Pisces strong or the 12th house strong in your chart, you will notice Neptune being quite Neptune energy being quite predominant. You're off with the fairies in fantasy land a lot. You'll be a daydreamer, off in the higher ether imaginary planes. Neptune rules imagination. It's very fanciful. It's about illusion. You know, we can't put our finger on something because it's illusion. It rules deception as well. It's connected to being deceived, having the wool pulled over your eyes, to things being a bit foggy and a bit intangible, a bit unable to be grasped. It's very spiritual, and of course true spirituality is a bit like that. You know, sometimes you'll get an epiphany. Aha, some answer I've been searching for all my life suddenly now makes sense. That's because up until that point it's been elusive, it's been misty, it's been foggy in your mental understanding. So Neptune is very much the creative planet. It's the divine energy of creativity. It's very musical. Neptune's connected to music. It's connected to divine healing, like miracles are Neptunian things. Medicines are also ruled by Neptune. Miraculous healings, that sort of, you know, that you think you've got cancer one week and you go back the next, you hear those crazy stories, amazing miraculous stories. Someone goes in the next week and all the cancer's gone. My God, what's going on there? Neptune's done something miraculous in that person's chart, no doubt. Things like that are very undefinable, unexplainable, very Neptunian. So let's take a look when we combine this planet of intuition and emotion with this fanciful, idealistic, dreamy planet of Neptune. What do we get? Well, firstly, we get big faith. People of big faith. Now, I'm not talking religious people. That's not what we're looking at here. We're talking about people who believe in the goodness of the universe, believe that the universe has our back. They trust, in spite of all the circumstances around them to the contrary, they trust that the universe is working in their favor. They've also got really big, compassionate hearts. They are caring, they are loving, they are giving, sometimes to the point of martyrdom. Not very helpful, not very healthy when that's the case, but they will give and give and give because that's just the Neptunian way. Neptune is connected to unconditional love. It's also connected to soulmate love. That divine connection that says, I don't care what you've done, or who, you know, it's forgiving. It's, you know, I just love you for the potential that's in you as a human being. That sort of, you know, unconditional love. We often see that between mothers and children, especially when we've got moon conjunct Neptune. We have this big compassion, this big love, this big forgiving nature towards our children. Now, on the positive side of this Moon-Neptune conjunction, it gives a massive imagination. Like off the Richter scale, that's one of my favorite expressions when I'm talking about the outer planets and the moon, because they give really intense resonance. You'll have off the Richter scale imagination. Like you could write fantasy stories to beat the band, you know. You would leave Lord of the Rings for dead. Your fantasy imagination will be wild and amazing. You must have an outlet for your creativity and imagination. If you don't allow yourself creative expression, if you don't make time in your day for creative expression, you will go bonkers. And you will not be fulfilling that beautiful God-given side of you that is divinely, well, basically channeling divine creativity, divine inspiration. So take time for creativity if you have this conjunction in your chart. It makes you very dreamy. It makes you very intuitive. You know, you'll be the kind of person who will have an intense dream at night, a night dream, and wake up just knowing, you know, just knowing today something's going to happen because I had this dream and it was prophetic. It's a very prophetic combination to have these two. You'll be intuitive. Your dreams will be very telling and very much connected to messages from spirit for you. Neptune rules dreams. Moon is intuition. Fantastic combo for that. You're going to actually have a big desire and a need almost to be fulfilled in life that is beyond mundane ordinariness. For example, living an ordinary mundane life, you know, let's just say, you know, you grow up and you, at 15 years of age, you get a job stacking boxes in the local warehouse and you spend the next 20 years doing that, and, you know, that is not going to satisfy a Moon Neptune person. You want life that is not mundane. Mundane ordinariness. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to be, you know, rich and famous and life's just one big adventure. You can have an ordinary life, but you will not want like boring, mundane, repetitive, dull. These are not words that describe what will satisfy you in life when you have Moon Neptune conjunction. You need to be able to see synchronicities in life, spiritual insights around every corner. You're going to have an intuitive sixth sense about those things, and so you're going to need to get out there, possibly go overseas. Neptune rules overseas travel. Go overseas and make your home overseas. Moon rules the home. And you may, when Neptune is conjunct the Moon, you may very well benefit from going overseas and exploring and expanding your mind and your soul through the spiritual nature of going and immersing yourself in other countries and living in other countries for a while. And this is because you cannot do a mundane life. You must do life that is about spiritual growth, insight, understanding, fanciful, fantasy. There's a lot of people, as many people know if they watch my videos, and I hope you do, that I was once involved in the rockabilly scene and still sort of operate on the fringes of that scene a little bit sometimes. And it is a very Neptunian scene. It is about wearing masks, putting on an outer garment, creating an image, creating a false front from who you really are. I mean, yes, you might really like to dress up and look like you're Marilyn Monroe, of course, but this is creating an illusion. And that's very Neptunian. So people in the rockabilly scene and other subcultures are actually highly Neptunian people, very creative people too, because there is this desire to create an illusion of who they are and wear a mask of who they are. It indicates, sorry, just back on that one, it's because they can't do the mundane, ordinary life. They have to create a fantasy for themselves. They have to create a fanciful realm of escape, even if that's just escaping into your head to get away from ordinary, you know, heavy, third-dimensional reality existence on planet Earth. You will want this fanciful, idealistic kind of component to your life. It makes you extraordinarily sensitive. Like, you are just the empath. You pick up on other people's energies of sadness as well as their energies of joy. You are very in tune with what other people are feeling, and you will have great compassion for that when you've got this. You also have a belief in the goodness of life, and you look for the good in other people when you've got this conjunction in your chart. You're going to be someone who just avoids hurting others. You're gentle, you're kind. Watch out for doing that though at your own personal cost. Often we see highly Neptunian or even highly Piscean people putting themselves last for the sake of others being happy. And that's not healthy. It is not healthy to be a martyr. And we're coming out of the Piscean age ruled by Neptune. And we saw a lot of martyrs in history that put themselves aside for the benefit of other people. And that's not always a good thing. So especially in our personal lives, in our relationships, at work, don't be the martyr. Yes, it's a really good thing to be kind and compassionate and to avoid hurting others or offending others. Yeah, that's good, as long as you're not suffering detriment because of that. So I'm highly Piscean and highly Neptunian as well. So very important to keep that in the forefront of my mind so that I honor myself and my journey through life. And I'd encourage you, if you have this signature, to do the same. Now, you can be highly empathic and tune into others very, very easily, as I mentioned. Now, on to the mother energy of the moon being in combo with Neptune. Your mother might have been highly Neptunian, meaning she might have been quite idealistic about her mothering, you know, and she might have expected a lot of herself because of that. She might have had an idealistic image of what good mothering looked like. So she might have just even been just generally an idealistic person with a, you know, utopian vision for what life should be like. She might also have been quite creative. This is par for the course when Neptune's involved. Creativity comes naturally. It just seeps from every pore, so to speak. She might have been quite an emotional woman too, or the nurturing parent. It might have been a grandmother, it might have been an auntie, someone like that, would have been quite emotional. Sensitive and very giving, lots of unconditional love, as I mentioned earlier, when Neptune is conjunct the moon. Giving, giving, giving. I love you no matter your faults, and you know, you can do no wrong in my eyes. You know, sometimes there can be a real lack of boundaries with Neptune too, and in mothering, obviously that's a challenge because children need boundaries. So when you're highly Neptunian and you let your kids just run wild, it's not always healthy for them, but Neptune does struggle to put boundaries in place, to say no, because it dissolves boundaries actually. It's very, like I said, misty, and mist doesn't really have containable boundaries, you know. It seeps under doors, and it, you know, fog creeps in every nook and cranny. So this is very much the nature of Neptune, boundaryless. Watch out if in your parenting for that. And you might have had a mother who was not very good at putting boundaries in place. Now, on the negative side of the Neptune moon conjunction, you can actually have a hard time coming down to earth, especially in relationships and life in general, because you're so fantasy oriented. You're so idealistic, you're so dreamy, you're so utopian vision of humanity oriented. And certainly, like in my former life, back before I became an astrologer, I worked in town planning, and I went into that realm, got my degree there because I had this vision. I looked around me and I'm like, God, this people are building houses and they're so butt ugly. It makes me want to scream. And look at the way they're designing towns. This doesn't work. This is not beautiful. This is not idealistic. So I went into town planning thinking it might be controlling of me, but might be a way to make the world a bit more beautiful, a bit more desirous to be here. Very, very idealistic Neptunian kind of attitude there. And it is hard for Neptunian people to enjoy earthly reality, because it just doesn't match up to what your vision is, what your dream is, what this idealistic image is in your head of what life should be like, of what relationships should be like, of what children should be like, and of what the world you live in should be like. So it actually can lead to disappointment and disillusion with reality. And this is why highly Neptunian people, I'll probably get to this in a minute, can be very prone to escaping, because life on planet Earth has let them down. It just does not match up to their vision, their dream, and it can be very, very hurtful. So they like to sleep, because sleep, it's ruled by Neptune, but it's also a form of escape from the harshness of reality, the meanness, the bullies, the YouTube trolls, the shitty people out there, and the shitty circumstances in life, and the hardships. Sleeping is a form of escape. Alcoholism is a form of escape. Anything addictive is a form of escape. Too much chocolate, running, like 24 hours a day, like for a scump or something. But anything can be an addiction as a form of escape from what causes you pain, from what's not working. In fact, Forrest Gump's a very good example, because why did he start running? Because he was wounded over Jenny's sudden disappearance and just leaving him. And so to escape that hurt that he was feeling, he went running. Fine. So that's actually a really good example. Okay, so we can be overly sensitive, overly dependent on people who are a bit more grounded, people a bit more realistic, because we can't cope so well, and we kind of need somebody who can. So we can become a bit dependent on others. We can become very self-pitying. Poor me, I'm a victim, my life has not worked out well, everybody else's life is so wonderful, and look at me. You know, we become the verbal and mental martyr of our own life. Self-pitying. We can tend to, as I've said, do escapism. Now, escapism in itself is not bad. We all need holidays every now and again. We all need to have a bit of respite and relief from the world. That goes without saying. We all need a good night's sleep. My favorite remedy for anything. My kids will roll their eyes when they hear this. Oh, there she goes again. More sleep. But false escapism is not helpful, and it is negative. So alcohol and drugs and you know, addiction to anything is as unhealthy escapism. But also Neptune can trigger irrational fears. You know, like quite frankly, there are times when I'm like afraid to go out and interact with the public because I'm scared of people judging me or condemning me or thinking I'm odd or weird and whatever, and sometimes it's just easier to stay at home and bury yourself away. Another indicator of a highly Neptunian person is lonerism because of that, irrational fears. And these are not necessarily constants, so don't freak out when you hear me saying this about your signature in your chart. They pop up from time to time. Might have a little season of, I just want to be at home alone and away from people. That's fine. If you have a season like that, not a problem. They're more occasional than a constant. And knowing where they come from, this Neptune Moon conjunction, helps you understand, helps you grasp it better. Like I said, chronic idealism, a very big problem. It can lead to big letdowns. Now, growing up, because I'm Pisces, which is, I should have explained this, Pisces is ruled by Neptune. So if you're highly Piscean, this is describing you as well. But if you're highly Neptunian and you have this Neptune Moon conjunction or Neptune square or opposite moon, you'll understand what all this is about. But when I was growing up, my favorite book of all time, and still I'm somewhat obsessed with it, is Anne of Green Gables, and all the books written by L.M. Montgomery. I've read every biography I can get my hands on about her. She was an amazing woman. I would love to have her around for dinner and just chat all night. But one of the things about Anne was she was quite a Piscean character. One of these days I have actually done the chart for her date of birth. It's just a sideline here. Because it is given in one of the books, and if you're an Anne of Green Gables fan too, you might be interested. But I've done the chart for the date of birth given in the books, and it's phenomenally accurate. Like, I don't know what Lucy Maud Montgomery was channeling, but she got it right, because the chart describes Anne to a T. I'll do that one for you one day. But one of the quotes from Anne of Green Gables said, it goes along these lines: I can't help soaring up on the wings of anticipation. It almost pays for the thud that comes after. And isn't that such a Neptunian statement? I am lost in my imagination. I am anticipating the joy and the delight and the wonder that awaits me. And then reality comes and it's plop, back down. Oh yeah, back down into the real world. But as Anne says, the soaring up is almost worth the pain of the thud, because at least for that little bit of time you're in the ecstasy, the moment of imagination. So very, very Neptunian there. Big emotional ups and downs come with this placement. You'll tend to keep your emotional ups and downs private, though. It's quite a private sign. Where Pluto Moon is about secrets, Neptune is about keeping, I was going to say keeping things hidden. Pluto is connected to keeping secrets that you know about. Like, I know I've got a skeleton in the closet. I'm not letting that thing out to scare everybody. Neptune is about things that are hidden that we actually aren't consciously aware of. Again, it's like the mist and the fog. We can't put our finger on it. We know something's there. We know something's going on, but we can't put our finger on it. So it's things that are hidden that are beyond our conscious awareness at the moment. So your big emotional ups and downs instinctively will just be kept private, and that might be because you're not consciously aware of what is triggering your big emotional ups and downs when Neptune's involved. And of course the moon is emotions, and Neptune can indicate these intense experiences. So it can be difficult to satisfy your need for emotional nourishment in life when you've got Neptune conjunct with the moon. And quite simply, this is because your expectations in life will be very, very high. So keep in mind, like, this is a harsh thing to hear, hearing that, you know, I might not ever be able to really feel emotionally satisfied in life, because you have this expectation that's up here and life is down here. That can be pretty harsh to hear. But keep in mind all the blessings that come with a moon-Neptune conjunction. That ability to escape into your imagination and your fantasy world. That's a gift and a blessing. And I'll let out a little secret here because I'm a single woman and there's nobody on the scene. I tend to fantasize, and I don't tell many people this, and now I'm telling the world. My fantasy guys, who I can escape into my own little la-la land with, they're all characters on TV. They're not actually real people. Very, very Neptunian. But you're probably wondering who they are. Phil Dunphy from Modern Family. Oh God. And I had the thing for quite some time for Darren Stevens out of the Bewitched sitcom from the 1960s. So there, I'm revealing all my secrets now for you. But sorry. This ability to escape into our imagination, it can support us when the world just doesn't match up to the ideal, the dream, the expectation that we have. And not just in romantic relationships, but everything as well. Fantasyland is sometimes an antidote when reality sucks. But just be conscious of getting too addicted to that sort of thing and tapping out of reality. That's the one precaution with highly Neptunian influences. So there's so many good things: the compassion, the gentleness, the faith, the trust, in the universe, the creativity, the connection to the imagination. All these things are wonderful. And the challenging things, the thud of reality, the expectations that are too high in life, that don't match the real life, these are the challenges. So it's like the scales, you know, there is a balancing act to be done, balancing the challenges and the positives, and trying to find a harmonious place there with Neptune moon. So what are the remedies for Neptune moon in our chart, for the challenges of Neptune moon? Well, practicing aromatherapy is actually something that can really help. Having beautiful smells, because a smell is an elusive thing. A bit like Neptune. So having beautiful smells around, like, you know, burn some incense or some candles, or burn a bit of, you know, lavender oil or something like that. This can really elevate the spirits, this elusive sensory mechanism that will trigger the ability to escape into a higher state of being. So aromatherapy is really good. Also being near water. Anywhere near water, going for a walk. I mean, there's a reservoir not far from where I live. I try to get a walk around there as often as possible. Very healthy thing to do. Going for a swim, having a shower, having a bath, any type of immersion in water is really, really helpful to sort of clean the soul, clean the spirit of any sort of heavy emotional resonance that you might be feeling, or feeling down, or feeling low, or feeling disappointed or disillusioned with life. I like having a good cry in the shower. That is cathartic for Neptune people. These sorts of things. Music and art therapy. Obviously, these are two very creative avenues that you can employ as therapy for relief and release. So doing music therapy, doing art therapy, get involved even in a group session. That would be fine. I mean, Neptune is very private, and so can the moon be as well. So you might desire to do things privately, but at least maybe the first couple of times go to a lesson, learn how to do it so that it works well for you, and then you can do the rest, music therapy, art therapy, etc., in the privacy of your own home if you need to. You're going to need a lot of downtime, time for relaxation, time to sleep, time to escape into a good fantasy novel or a wonderful fantasy film kind of thing. This is because you're not going to handle stress well with this combo. Any type of stressful situations are going to be like overwhelming for you guys. So you're going to want to escape or run when things get a bit overwhelming and a bit much. But if you allow yourself regular downtime, you get to bed early, there I go again, and have enough rest, have time out to just let it all go, you know, like I said, reading or watching a movie or something, then this can really, really support you in coping with stressful times, stressful situations. Look, I remember when I was going through my divorce, which was naturally a very stressful time. I had 3 little toddlers, all of which were in nappies when I left. Very, very highly stressful time. Taking time when I could get it to go to the movies was exactly the antidote I need, because for that moment in time, that hour and a half or 2 hours, I escaped to another reality. In the movie, my world didn't exist any longer. So that was really, really supportive. Taking time out to rest, recharge, taking time out to create, taking time out to invest in your spiritual side, reading spiritual books, or connecting with other people who are spiritually minded and just talking about ideas and talking about what you've learned and how you've grown. These sorts of things are very, very helpful as well. The other thing I forgot to mention is dancing. Dancing is very creative. It's very creative expression, but it also fits with the Neptune flowiness also. People hear me talking about this all the time, but I find one of the best healing tools for me is actually to attend 5 rhythms dance workshops, or to do the 5 rhythms in the privacy of my own home. Gets the energy shifting and moving out, any energy of disappointment and sadness and disillusion, woof, out it goes, and the good stuff comes in, thankfully. We need to, when we have Neptune conjunct moon, we need to learn to provide our own emotional nourishment, not look outside of us, not look to alcohol to provide the escape, not look to other people to be our, you know, our support mechanism for coping. We need to learn to, and it's a muscle that needs to be flexed in order to grow stronger. In order to cope with life, we need to learn to provide our own emotional nourishment and our own emotional support. So they're the remedies for Neptune conjunct moon challenges if you have that in your chart. I hope this video has been enlightening for you, helped you to understand more about what this signature means. And if it's been a blessing for you, and if you happen to know someone else who's got this signature in their chart, then by all means share this video with them so they can learn, so they can grow, and so they can work with the energy in the best possible way in their life as well. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you'll tune in for the rest of this series as it comes to you on Guiding Star Astrology.